Okay, so this is going to be like a low gold review. I'd almost say silver. What's Gibraltar? So I'm going to see where we're at, because I definitely want to... Daramore, you got to remember, by the way, one of the things we do about this, though, is that you're going to have to record another video after this, about 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, of your progress. One of the cool things I like about my series is I want to see the improvement on players themselves when I do their VOD review too, right? So it's kind of a big deal to me to watch people get better. I'm going to start it right now. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to skip through all the early stages. Actually, yeah, I'm going to skip through a lot of the early stages.
Hey guys.
Check out sound levels. Very talkative team. Yeah, I'm gold now. It's been a rough start. All right, let's look at the team comp from the get-go here. That's going to be pretty important. So remember, this is basically gold-silver. If I had to get, this is gold-silver, basically, so very, very, very low end of it. Like I said, I want everybody to get better. And I also want to talk about something, too, because there's going to be players here who are like Masters or something like that. The way I do the VOD reviews is I want to make sure that people can learn something no matter what your rank is, right? So I might explain something to somebody who's making mistakes in gold, but explain why to you it's good and what will lead to better levels. Does that make sense? I don't try to just be like, listen, at this, focus on just getting your aim better, and then everybody else on my channel is like, well, I'm trying to learn more, right? So the focus on this is to improve on both the map for everybody, and the player that I'm reviewing can learn from their mistakes and what's going on. I will say this about lower levels. Obviously, their aim is worse, their teamwork is worse, their incentive to win sometimes can be worse. Sometimes, they might be better than Masters and GM. People care more, right, to climb. So expectations, strategy we talk about may not work when you apply it, but it's good to apply good habits early than it is to try to break habits later. And I keep talking about that in all my videos. In my opinion, and Noctu, you can put this in there if you want, developing good habits early and good habits now is better than breaking bad habits later. I have seen many players who get to a certain level by just doing a bunch of bad habits to climb, and then when they get to the higher levels, they just struggle to break those habits, and they never break them, and they find themselves getting stuck in an endless loop. So if you can develop good habits early, that's a good thing. It doesn't mean you can't climb having bad habits and then break them. You can, but I'm just trying to give you an easier path, So, anyway. Can't think of anything to eat? Good food. So here we go. We're going to start off here. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit here. Looks like they have 3 people not in voice chat, which is fine once again. Okay. So early on, looks like you're going to be starting in the stairs, which if you ever watch a lot of the pro games, not the pro games, the high-end games, starting here isn't really necessarily the best idea. Mainly because you can get kind of choked out here in the little area. So being that close is a little bit interesting, but you got away with it. I mean, it's not like technically bad. But the reason why you want to go up to high ground is so that you create some type of counter dive. Let me get my mouse off for that. Right? So, I mean, you're engaging early, and, flying into them there. So one of the big mistakes that a lot of people do with D.Va, and this is for a general player in general. I make this mistake sometimes. Good D.Va players make this mistake sometimes. Bad D.Va players make this mistake. When you engage somebody right at the cart and you have no escape from bronze all the way to GM, you can get punished for that. You have no way to escape, and you don't have enough defense matrix now with the current D.Va to really get yourself out, right? So, naturally, your teammates aren't even with you right now, so you can get yourself killed pretty early with that. You didn't get punished here because it's a Reinhardt, and obviously the coordination isn't that good, but when you play, and you climb, and you use your boosters to engage somebody 2 feet in front of you, when there's no really reason to engage them because they nerfed the damage on the boop to begin with. A little less-known fact here, and I forgot to remove my sub thing, my bad. I'll thank that in a second. People get to see it from the VOD review now. Is they nerfed the damage on your boops. It used to be your boops would do a lot more damage, and then I forgot what patch it was or how many months ago it was, but they nerfed that combo. It used to be you could fly into a bunch of people, build some L charge, and it would do significant damage. Now you just kind of go in there and you're like, hey. So be careful on using your booster. I'm going to show you the example I'm talking about so people understand what I'm doing because they may not have seen what I'm talking about. So watch. Just 10 damage. Okay, so watch. Comes out of the card here, and then flies into the Rhine right here. Now, I don't mind you flying into the Rhine here if you're trying to just kind of be annoying, and you know that the Ana can't heal him, or you can kind of right-click, and you can right-click and eat the sleep, and then fly up top, right? If he just goes up top like this, right, off this flight, he has 2 seconds left, right? He can fly up here, he's good. The problem is, you stop right here, right? And you're not up there, because it looked like you try to fly away, but you melee. So now you're in a weird spot where you may not have been able to get out. Now you go up there, and that's a way better thing. You actually use the float technique, which I'm really happy to see. And there you go. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because you can kind of screw yourself up with that. But anyway, yeah. Good job prioritizing the bubble there. I'm a huge fan of break-in Winston bubbles when you're facing Winstons. You didn't eat the Halen Orb there, but I don't know if it will really matter. So that's okay. Good rocket control. For being gold, your mechanics aren't too awful, I'd say. I think everybody can agree on that.
Chase him. Got him.
Nice job.
Winston.
I'm going to pause this right now for 1 second. All right, back to we go. Flying up to go for the Winston was a good play. He's obviously dead. Good job. Your flight control's been pretty good. Your aim's been pretty good. So far I really can't complain.
Starts taking the pellet.
Good job eating the Moira Orb. Remember, if you play against a Moira, and I'm going to stress this every time, eat the Moira Orb. It cuts her kit in half so much and makes her less effective. Good job eating the Fire Strike. Your DM usage has been pretty good. You try to use the float technique there a little bit. My only suggestion is, remember, you can float upwards correctly, so, yep. Get the orb. Nice job. There we go. Very happy so far with your DM usage. So, one thing you're doing, by the way, and I want to talk about it very quickly, is you're trying to do the flow technique, and I like that. The flow technique we've talked about in the other videos. If Noctu wants to link it, he can. What you're doing wrong with it, though, is you're flying straight up, and then you're trying to use your momentum backwards. Fly at an angle when you do the float, and then bring yourself backwards. So when you angle yourself with that momentum, it launches you further. When you go straight up, you lose that momentum, and you kind of just end up in the same spot or a few feet back. So when you fly up with it, fly up, angle yourself, and then you should be able to get back to where you want to go. I see that happen a couple times. All right? So.
Nice bubble, nice.
Good bubble there. You don't have much DM left. That's good. Reinhardt's getting low. Good target priority. So far, so good. Can't complain about this. Good job getting the Moira Orb.
Moira?
You once again overcommitted again to somebody with your flight, especially a hero like that. Whether or not you die here, we'll find out, but just remember, you know, sometimes you can escape up and do the same thing you're doing right now.
Sorry, Bubble, I'm going to ult.
You don't have an opportunity to ult right now, just so you know.
Maybe not.
Yeah, good call. You were calling for the ult. You didn't have an opportunity. It's all about areas of opportunity.
What's Ryan charges? Oh, we break shield, break shield, break shield.
Good calls. I like this. That's really good. You're being effective. Your calls are good. You're not yelling big slam the whole time.
Thanks.
Big slam!
Oh, he's ult now.
Nothing you can do about this. Just fly to the cart. Okay, we'll see. Okay, you got the Ana kill. The reason why I was afraid of that is because you heard the blade initially. So, it's kind of like a risk-reward. I would have flown to the cart and saved it for the next fight, for the most part, because generally, like, those type of heroes can just kind of, like, cleave through all the stuff and then get you before you go in suit. You still got to kill, but try to think about what's happening when you're doing those ultimates. Like, it's... I do it all the time in rank, and a lot of time it's just me kind of being flashy sometimes, and I should be a little bit smarter. But overall, I wouldn't necessarily... Pay attention to what's happening on the screen. Pay attention to what ults are out, because whenever I, like, ult against a Genji, you always hear me go... Shouldn't have done that. What was I thinking?
-1?
Just because Genjis can literally kill you and they can dash out because they get a dash reset from killing you. A little bit of overcommitment. Once again, you're flying straight up on your flights, which is causing you to lose the momentum, which is why you keep ending up in the same spots. Good job contesting the card. Good job eating the orb. No complaints about that. Always eat the orb.
Right.
Nice job so far. And remember, one thing I want to talk about is D.Va's best friend is Discord Orb. D.Va's best friend is Discord Orb. So you're doing a pretty good job at getting on those targets in general, and I'm really happy to see you make that progress and going forward. I can tell you definitely watch the stream because you're making a lot of the similar calls I make, which I'm really happy with. So far, though, if I wanted to give you, like I said, one tip of advice when you're using your flight, just give it a little bit of an angle. It always gives you an escape. You don't have to always land up top and get out of the fight. You can always come back down. But just give yourself a little bit more of an angle when you fly up, and I think you'll have way more effectiveness when you're playing. It's just my opinion, of course. But I think just give yourself better angles. This is so far. We'll talk about that later. So this is gold, silver. It's like low gold, but there's some silver players. So I say silver.
I have self-destruct again.
So. Self-destruct. If you want to increase... One thing about Gibraltar, and I know it's gold level, but you can start having good habits here. It seems like you like to communicate, Daryl, and you like to improve. I want you to start hitting tab, and I want you to start looking at an ultimate and just make a very basic ABC plan. You go, what do you mean an ABC plan? Okay, hit tab. We have Blade. Hey, let's nano blade this fight. If they don't listen, they don't listen. But it develops good habits, and it kind of gives you the ability to shot call and become a better shot caller long term. So don't be afraid to like hit tab in between these type of like fights when there's nothing happening and make a small play. If people don't listen, you're still developing that good habit. Once again, you don't have to be a shot caller if you're trying to get better at D.Va, but you do seem to want to communicate. And when I see a player that wants to communicate and be a part of the game more than just kind of using your abilities, then I know that you have the capability of doing that. So when I see you standing there and not doing much, but you're wanting to make calls, just do that. Hit tab, make a call. If they don't listen, at least you're doing that and you're making it a habit. So.
Alright, Ozeni's down. Play cautious. Nice res.
Good job trying to peel for the Tracer here. I like that. The anti-grenade was kind of unpredictable there. I mean, obviously, I don't even eat those nades sometimes. If I'm you right now, I'm going to start going towards the point. And I'll talk about this in a second if you lose your suit. Yep. Okay, so this is something I want to talk about, and I've talked about my VOD reviews before. Let me watch you get killed here in a second.
Got the Genji, but died.
Okay, well, first of all, I can't believe you got the Genji. That's impressive. But when you are in a situation where the fight is about to be lost, and you don't have the numbers to be able to turn the fight around, or you don't have the ability to disengage, right? People always ask me, when do I peel? When do I disengage? When do I do this? It's all situational with D.Va. The best D.Vas make good situation. They make like good situational awareness plays, and they kind of make decisions really fast. Go to the cart there. I'm telling you right now, you have no way to escape. Die in the cart. The cart will be about 15 meters back, and you'll have like a breathable retake, which means that you're going to come out there, and if they stuff you at the doors, you still can get through, and you still can stop the cart at a good spot. So, good job up until then, and I think if you learn to just know when to go to the cart, you'll be a lot better at it. That was a situation where you go to the cart. Okay, let's keep hitting play.
If we can recontest last second, I can throw an ult.
Okay, good call.
Just wait till nice res.
Good res. Just be ready to get. Yep, nice job backing away a little bit. Fly up. They have no Winston bubble. Ult. Perfect. No, there was no bubble there. I like the ult to play. Didn't get a kill, but it gives them opportunity to regroup a little bit. When they use their Winston bubble, ulting right there is a good ult. I like that ultimate. I'm not going to complain. Now remember, you are the D.Va right now, so make sure you're communicating who's going to be on cart, because they could have easily back captured there for a second if nobody was on cart. You don't need to fly in here. There we go again. You did the same thing I've been talking about, by the way. You're going at a bad angle with your flight, so you're putting yourself in a weird spot. Now you survived and everything worked out a little bit. Just remember, you could definitely control your flight a little bit better if you want to work on something. Good retake, smart retake. Could have saved it a little bit better. Everything could have been a little bit better, but I mean, it is gold. It is 2100. So you're doing a lot of good things. There's a lot of good things happening here. There's a lot of bad things happening here, but I'm always going to point out both, because I feel like one of the biggest flaws people have is they always try to fix what they're bad at, but never improve what they're good at. And when you do that, you actually become worse, and you think you're getting stuck. You get what I'm saying? All right, just communicate. Hit tab. Hit tab. The fight's pretty much at a standstill for a second. See what else you have here. Obviously, you don't do that, but that'd be a good habit to get used to. Good job eating the orbs. You're doing a very good job eating more orbs. Remember, eat Moira orbs. Eat Moira orbs. Always remember that. Good job eating the orb. Unfortunately, they got a pulse bomb off. You could have done a little bit better job trying to track the Tracer, but I understand why you're looking for it. I do that too sometimes. Usually when I see a Tracer go to the backline, I know she has something up her sleeve. I'm going to talk about this ultimate right here. So this is one of those things where it's heat of the moment, but once you saw like 3 or 4 people die on your team, it's pretty much at that point, there's no ultimate you're going to have at that with no flight on the ground. Maybe if it landed on top of the cart, you might have been like, okay, I can justify that. You get like a 2 or 3K, and you can kind of regroup and fly around, and it's OT spawn, so they won't have reinforcements. But for the most part, I'm just saying, for the most part, I would recommend that. Now, I guess we'll see what happens. Daryl's saying something, but I would have saved it, but we'll see. Good flight. I like that. I don't know how this fight's still going on. Okay. This is why I lost 20 games today. Alrighty, well. Okay, like, all right. Okay, listen. In my defense, how often does that work? How often does that work? Be honest with me. As a VOD reviewer right now, should I tell him not to do that? Should I tell him not to ult that? Or should I literally be like, okay, that was great, do that again? I still feel like I should tell him not to ult that, because it's like long term. I don't think that's gonna work too often, right? I feel like I should still tell him that, correct? Like, you know what? Great job by your team, good retake, well played. But most of the time, it doesn't work, in my opinion. I feel like that's a bad habit you want to break. But at the same time, good job. Can't complain about that. That was a good play. Nothing really bad to say. You won the fight, and like I said, that was a pretty good half. I can't complain about a lot of what you did. Obviously, we found some like things that you're doing wrong that we can fix, but we call that a very high risk play. So up to you. Yeah, being aggressive at crunch time isn't bad though. I do agree, but I get a little bit afraid sometimes when overtime spawns hit. So if you guys don't understand overtime spawns, let me talk about the overtime spawns for a second, okay? Overtime spawns increase your spawn timers. So sometimes when you use an ultimate and then die, not only do you waste your ultimate, but you also in a longer spawn, and their snowball gets even more effective. So the way I see things, well, then if they do kill you there, this is a theory, okay? This is a theory, right? In my opinion, when you use an ultimate and and your chances of losing it are really high, not only do you lose your ultimate, but you lose the ability to kind of regain control sometimes, because overtime spawns on a snowball is the reason why teams cap third points really fast after they struggled on the first 2 points. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're an overtime spawn, it's a little bit longer. And if you stagger your overtime spawns, you're waiting even longer for everybody to spawn up. Then they are able to then snowball you and take third point quicker. And it's not because necessarily you're playing bad. You almost full held them on 2 points, right? Like, that's usually what happens. And then the snowball and everybody panics. They're like, what the hell happened? What did we do wrong? What's going on? Now people are fighting. Now that overtime timer's 45 seconds left and you're going to the second half. A lot of that has to do with the fact that people get into OT spawns and then they don't understand that basically you have one team fight sometimes. Especially with like maps that don't have much of the role play, where like the doors open and it takes an hour and a half and stuff like that. So, yeah. Anyway, gonna continue on. But this is all theory. I'm just saying, like, either way it worked out and you held. But yeah, good job. Looks like you did something there. We're gonna head over to attack now. I'm just gonna skip through a lot of this stuff.
Interesting.
So, anyway, just opinion. You know, either way, good job winning the fight. I can't get mad about that. You won the fight, right? But either way, good play. For the most part, we definitely saw some things you can work on. Gonna skip through a little bit of this. I might get that thing that Jane has, the pencil thing that he has on the screen, so I can get a little bit more like talkative about stuff. But all right, continuing on here. Taking the high ground here. Nobody's here, which is good. Taking this high ground is always important. It's eventually you want to gain high ground on Gibraltar on attack. Like, if you gain high ground, you usually win. Hanzo in front of you here. A little bit of an overcommitment on him. There we go with the flight again. But I think we've learned that. Got a couple kills. The route we took there and this whole situation was definitely very awkward. It worked, but obviously I think you see yourself why you don't want to do what you just did. But, hey, you know what? Looks like you might win the fight, so. Can't complain about that.
I got stunned and fucked up by Hanzo and... Okay.
Keep watching, keep watching. Nothing really going on here. So one thing, I have this habit all the time too, where I go on the cart the whole time. If you get high ground control against these guys, you might actually have a way better time. Like, fighting them from the ground point of view is a little bit weird, because they can see it coming. But decent, basically when you play against a comp like this, like, really good players will punish you for being on the ground there. So if you went high ground against their comp, which is now a ground comp, you actually would, like, you would actually see a lot of effectiveness coming out of your team. Like, I talked about this on Hanamura, one of my recent VODs. When you're playing against a ground comp and it's a high ground map, if you take the high ground from them, they feel kind of pressured and they make more mistakes, in my opinion. So when you fight them from a generic, like a basic point, like sorry, how am I trying to say this? When you fight them head on, you're playing into their style. Now, I see what happened here. is this is the funny part. So you now switch Reinhardt because you're fighting that comp, and in your mind, exactly, you're going, well, we're playing dive into Brig. But most Brig comps that are strong, right, are on maps where the high ground isn't dominant. So for example, if I'm playing second point Dorado, and they're running Rein, Zarya, Brigitte, and we're running dive, are we truly running dive, or are we just running like a surround comp of dive, where we kind of pick and choose our dives, but like not like we just dive in straight ahead? The biggest thing is people think when you play dive, you just have to jump into them. That's it. Like, that's what dive is, right? People are like, hey, I'm running dive. Yeehaw. Let's just jump into them face first every time. No. When you have high grounds and you can surround them, you're not diving until the right opportunity, right? Like, you get above them. You start chipping away damage. They don't know what to do because they can't get to you. They start to attack your teammates. Now they playing spread. Now you get a little bit more aggressive. You jump down without using any cooldowns. You get on the Brigitte. She stuns you. You fly back up, and now she has no cooldowns, right? Am I wrong when I say that? Does that make sense? So there's people get under the assumption like that you can, how do I say it? People get under this assumption that if they have dive and Brigitte, you can't play against it. But it's all about how you play against it that makes it work, right? Like, you've seen me play D.Va a bunch, and I've climbed a bunch playing against 24/7 Brigittes. To be honest with you, in GM, we have a bunch of Brigitte one-tricks who are absolutely nuts at Brigitte. And we still win. And why do we still win? Because we learn how to play against Brigitte by taking the high grounds, not going into them. You can still run dive. You just have to know how to play against it effectively. So, anyway.
Sure. Ricker goes.
So I understand why you went Rein, but it's a little bit of a panic play because you're still running dive. You going Reinhardt here isn't changing you running dive. You still have a Winston, and everybody is still diving, but you're on Reinhardt. So you're still running dive. You're just playing Reinhardt as a dive hero. You're gonna have zero effectiveness, right? In my opinion, once again. They're getting aggressive on you because there's literally nothing else you can do, and you're dead again. See? You panicked. And that's fine. We all make panic plays. Whether or not if it works long term, we'll see. Good blade play here. Now, what would have changed? Nothing would have changed. If you were on D.Va right now, what would have changed right there? Nothing. Maybe they overcommitted cooldowns to you, so it opened up space for your team. But you could have done the same thing, being D.Va, going high ground behind them, pressuring them from behind, eat nano grenades, making them feel pressured, right? So the same thing could have happened. Now you're looking a little bit better. You know, I'm not gonna lie. This was pretty good Rein play, good aggression, got some kills. Can't complain about that right there. I think that was fairly decent.
Nice. Keep pushing. Let's just keep staggering them. They're panicking right now. I have shower as well.
We have a big slam coming here. I'm ready.
Sneak right side and shot them from behind.
Oh, yes.
Get ready.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Need healing?
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Not bad.
So, yeah, I would not try to do that flank shatter because they can see you. The problem with flanks is that if you do a flank shatter, it's like they don't see you. They big slam!
Got him.
What?
Yep, he's right. Agree.
Let's go.
Anyway, when you want to go for a flank shatter, the best strategy is not to be seen. Because the idea of a flank is that they don't see you for the most part. So I would recommend just not doing that, playing the ground and going for a better play. Like I said, the Rein switch is still interesting to me because I feel like this is a high ground dominant map, so I'm curious to see how they react to you being on Rein. I haven't quite seen their comp changes or anything like that, but I feel like your team is not equipped to deal with it, but it is, you know, it is ranked. You can get away with just about anything. Like, I'm never going to be against you winning, like, with off-meta comps. I never will be upset with off-meta comps because if they work, it works, right? Like, I'm not going to be mad about that. I just feel like, you know, once again, long-term, you know, it's good to practice it a little bit, but...
Just keep pushing it.
Good space creation. This Mercy has literally... I think you've been rezzed by Mercy 46 times this game, which is even better. Props to that Mercy, whoever that Mercy is. You've done a great job rezzing him. Good location. Haven't been giving up your spot for your...
It does.
So... can't really complain. Big slam out of there, Rein. That was unbelievable. Good job. Yeah, overall, I really can't complain. And big slam to end the game, it looks like. Hell yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good. And the Rhine comp got better. Now, I want to talk about this.
Oh,
The Rhine comp got better for you because your teammates then switched around what you were running, and it worked out. I still think there was a bit of a panic switch on attack, but you know what? Your team ended up switching their heroes. You didn't have Winston anymore. You had a Zarya. So, can't really complain about that, in my opinion. We got to make sure you endorse people. Waiting for the endorsements. 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 There's the endorsements. A little bit disappointed it took that long. Good job. Definitely good job. Definitely good job. You know, you should have honestly given the sportsmanship to the Mercy because she spent like 40 minutes resing you. That takes like being positive and not toxic to be able to just go away with that. So, yeah. All right. Pretty good, by the way. Can't complain about that. Let me just pause that. So, yeah, overall, a couple summary that we want to work on as a player. Obviously, try not to do too many panic decisions. Obviously, you won the game, so I can't fault you for winning the game. Like, I'm never going to be like, wow, you still should have switched there, blah, blah, you know, whatever. You can make that decision yourself, right? I'm just giving you advice going forward. You actually added that Mercy as a friend. Power to you. So, going forward, yeah, I would definitely say work on your flight control. Like, absolutely work on that. I felt like a lot of the times you could have put yourself in way better spots. You kept flying straight up with no angles, and that no angles led to you basically being in bad situations. Try not to do the panic switches too often. You know, just because they have Brigida doesn't mean you can't. Just because you, let me re-explain this. Just because they have a Brigida doesn't mean you can't play dive. Your dive is different. You don't have to dive straight into them. You can dive from different angles. You can pressure them from different angles, and you can use the high ground as kind of your dive is the high ground, and you can apply so much pressure that they don't know what to do, and then the mistakes happen so easily. They just play really scared, and eventually you can use the right play, and you can use the DM and all that. Good job eating more orbs. Still, I want to see you, you know, make sure you're focusing on like when the Tracer went backline, for example, you kind of still looked forward and lost track of that peel. The Tracer ended up pulse bombing your Mercy. You still won the fight, but those fights are easily losable. So remember to like kind of when a Tracer gets to your backline and gets that control, but doesn't have blinks, just work on trying to like pressure the Tracer off, and you'll probably win the fight. Instead, you almost lost that fight. We talked about the ultimate thing. Obviously, you know you still held them and all that. I still would have liked to see you to hold on to that ultimate, but once again, you won. I'm not going to complain about that. So yeah, I think we learned some things you can definitely work on, and you know. I'll be expecting a video in like 2 to 3 weeks with better D.Va movement. So, especially, I think you'll climb too. You seem to have decent mechanics. Your aim seems to be pretty decent. Your defense matrix management seems to be pretty decent. Your in-game knowledge is getting better. So I want to see in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, how your flight movement is, your in-game, stuff like that. So hope you got a lot of that, and I hope you guys got a lot of that too, because that's super important to get better at that. So yeah, you're good, Noctu, by the way. I'm gonna tell Noctu that. That was a much more concise video.